Okay, well, I had them all on. Oh, boy. I hope the parcels.
Research. Welcome. Today is Wednesday, December 3rd. The time is now promptly 3 p.m. and I'm going to open this council work session. We will start with our first item, which is response to November 5th visitor comments. We do not have anything to report today, so we'll move on to visitor comments. Now is the time for visitor comments. The visitor comment period is your essential part of local government meetings. Please address your comments to the mayor and city council members. The city council will take all input into consideration. Please limit your share to 3 minutes or less. In observance of Oregon open meeting laws, this isn't a time for dialogue, but rather a time for us to listen to you. Responses to visitor comments, if needed, will be published in the next city council regular session packet. Please provide your contact information on the sign-in sheet in the back of the room in case staff needs to ask any clarifying questions. And with that, the first person can come up and please state your name for the record. And I'll run up.
Go ahead. I don't care. All right. Al Peterson, 101 St. Helens Street. I'm here for two reasons. The second reason I don't necessarily care about. I think it's kind of stupid. But it has to do with the first reason, and they're sort of intertwined. First reason I'm here is because I'm here appealing a staff decision, which I will give you copies of. Who the mess? As you know, I'm an architect. Things that frustrate me, I have to deal with officials on a daily basis. The things that frustrate me are two things. One is when an official interprets something that's supposedly in the ordinance, and then when you actually read the ordinance, it ain't there. The opposite is also true. When an official enforces an ordinance, and then sometime later, the exact agency, in this case the city, turns around and does exactly the same thing that was not allowed by the enforcing official in the first place. So I'm not going to get too much into what I have turned into you today. This is case number one, where staff is enforcing something which flat out is not in the ordinance. The suggestions that were made by the staff do not meet the building code. And what we are requesting, I do not think is excessive, and it's something that has been allowed throughout the city for years and years and years. I will briefly point out, one example is those doors that we all walked in, they open out over the sidewalk. They open out over the sidewalk 12 inches. The door that you have down at the other end of the building also opens out over the right of way, approximately 16 inches. And the last example I'm going to give, which is the most recently constructed item, is the gate, which is on the Muckle building, which was relatively recently renovated. It opens out over the right of way and the sidewalk 38 inches. That's all I'm going to say about that. I would like you to schedule it for a regularly scheduled city council meeting. The second item, which is kind of the opposite, but the same, is where the city enforces something on all the property owners in the city, and then turns around and does exactly the opposite of what is being enforced. Case in point, Jacob for years and years has been enforcing bicycle racks with roofs over them. You can go down to the two new large apartment complexes in town. That was enforced. I am recently dealing with a property right now. It's not a big deal. We were able to get the bicycle racks under a roof. However, recently, right up the road, there are 4 beautiful bicycle racks on the corner of St. Helens Street and First Street. There's no roof. So I personally think you should get rid of the roof over bicycle racks rule. But if you're going to enforce it,
And we're gonna have to.
you should, right, my last 3 words, if you're going to enforce it, you should follow it. Thank you. You can have some.
Next person.
They're just my own viewpoints, Howard Blumenthal. Reading in your agenda for today to see discussion regarding side by side. It sounds like you want to start allowing ATVs on our streets. We already have so many problems with electric motorcycles, electric e-bikes and everything else going off trail. I've been told we don't quite have, the state doesn't have laws around to really enforce all of that. And so I'm very concerned that we would allow another whole class of an off-road vehicle to possibly be legally on the street. Then you got to worry about that people modify them heavily, their pollution control, their exhaust systems, so they could exceed certain things. Safety, they aren't as strong as the great big huge F-250 giant pickup trucks we have around here. First time one of those pickup trucks runs into one of those guys, it's going to be all over for someone. It just sounds really crazy that we would let a whole other class of something be on our streets. So more later, I'll see what your discussion is later, but I thought I'd preempt that right now. Thank you.
Next comment.
Brady Freeheim. This is from Visual Christian. From what I understand, a woman named Jennifer Macy, or Massey, I'll just say Macy. Jennifer Macy and her husband was running for sheriff. And part of their campaign was that they wanted to find a case to hone in on it and kind of make the case right. So they could, obviously for the community, but it was also political. I'm not trying to diss anybody, but the nature of it was political. So the person that turned Sarah Zuber into the dead girl was you. No one but you. You were the one. So, and your little tear stain clutching the photo, nobody's buying it. Then Leah Sotilli, who has done the episodes of Hush, wrote, so in summary, Jennifer Massey says Sarah's case scored her political points on her way to becoming mayor, but that was her motivation and tactics were above board. She said she didn't send any anonymous emails about policing, and her husband Terry said he wasn't handpicked by Greenway to challenge Pixley to run for sheriff. But then, months after this conversation with Jennifer, the city of St. Helens agreed to send us a partially unredacted version of the Greenway report. Jennifer Massey's name and was in it. And it contradicted a lot of what Jennifer told us. That's OPB's version of you're a big fat liar. The question that I have for the council is, have you seen, oh, and then it goes on to say that there's actually a whole report based on Jennifer Massey. So the question is, have the council seen the whole report? Who else has seen it besides John? When is it going to be released? You are going to lose this battle. This report will be out and all the supplements. And this is your Epstein. This is your Epstein. And you might as well just get it out there and move on. And the question is how many of you are either complicit or don't know? if you've seen it or not. The other comment that I wanted to make is, it's been over a month since Halloween ended. Where's the report? Why is Treadway not here? Give us a report on what they did. I think that's timely. It should have been done frankly last month. And you said it was going to be done within 30 days. It's over 30 days. Where's it at?
Great. Next comment, please. Sarah Zuber, she's not a dead girl.
Dr. Leskowitz, I live here in St. Helens. I was actually looking forward to hearing online, it says there's going to be a local limits evaluation by consultants or but I see Aaron is listed here for that, so I'm glad I'm here in person. While I'm here also, I thought I'd follow up on some emails that I forward, I believe, to most of the council members who received that regarding a non-compliance and enforcement action from the Department of Environmental Quality in regards to two locations. So it's a little bit complicated when I first read this, but there's two main areas of concern. One is our award-winning veneer plant development, where we have a construction permit for the control of stormwater. And then the other portion of this $33,000 plus enforcement penalty is from our existing what they call a 1200Z permit for the control of stormwater over at the Boise mill plant. And cut to the chase, you guys can go blow by those violations. I don't know if you took a timely response within 20 days to ask for a hearing. That's where you would argue your case with DEQ about the validity of these violations. I think they're pretty black and white. Ironically, as a matter of fact, back on September 21st of 2023, after I did a walk of the veneer plant, I sent the city an email about some of my concerns regarding the stormwater and the stormwater controls. I know you had a construction permit at the time and it wasn't being maintained. Somebody from your engineering department said, thank you. They went out and they were going to address the problems with the contractor to install and properly manage those erosion controls. So what has happened, and it's not proven, it's alleged, but sediments have left the site, entered the river. There were turbidity problems that probably weren't caught. There was a lot of hazardous materials that was mishandled on the site. I think that was about $7,000 worth of the penalty in round figures. What was really disturbing is over at the Boise mill, an established stormwater treatment and collection system was basically ignored and neglected for a period of at least a minimum of 3 years. There was supposed to be monthly inspections done, very simple maintenance and cleanup of the property, keeping stormwater inlets clean, and that was not done at all. And in calculating these penalties, there's multiplying factors. And because of the extreme negligence and blatant disregard for a permit, I think there was multiplier, sometimes up value of 8. But again, some of the comments, I'm sure hopefully you'll argue this, but respondent, that's the city, conduct with, because the respondent's conduct was reckless. And then they describe reckless as consciously disregarded a substantial and unjustifiable risk that resulted in or would occur that the circumstance existed. Anyway, my time is up. You guys got all the paperwork. If anybody's here from the news, I can show you where to find that report. It's online. I get these things emailed to me. But I found it was a little bit disturbing also that nobody on the council that this took place. This letter came out October 1st. So here we are 5-6 weeks later and nobody knows about this. So this is the kind of thing I imagine you guys discuss in executive session. I don't believe it's an issue that would be appropriate for an executive session. It should be out in public. And again, here we are. Again, you're going to need a consultant. So throw another $4,000 to $10,000 on top of this to give you the advice that you dearly need.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Next comment. We have it. Coming up, Steve.
Steve Topaz. I kind of want to follow up on one of Brady's fancy arguments. We have no need for a police station The one we have right now is locked up. The staff inside doesn't want to be disturbed. If you knock on the door quietly, they don't come. If you knock loudly, they send a officer out to tell you, don't bother us, we're busy. I bring this up for the last couple of years. I've been taking food to the police station, either from the food bank in the way of fruit, sandwiches, hand pies, other stuff. And I was told by the woman inside, they don't want brats, not to bother them. And we also have to remember the police force is undermanned. So last year I was on the council, we had a discussion, an executive session about the police, what they needed for the next year, number of personnel they needed, salaries, that type of thing. That was basically mid-year. The council instructed John Walsh to hire 2 people to make up for the retirement. And by the time I left, they hadn't been even a request for these 2 people. If you look back a little bit closer, you realize the city administration doesn't want a good police force. They didn't follow up on the direction of the council to hire 2 officers. The other thing that the administration said they were going to do is get a police station. Well, we don't have that. We, because of the shortage of people, we're running police officers into overtime to provide 24-hour coverage. Now, if you're a truck driver, working more than 8 hours is a no-no. It's against the law. And yet in another high-stress area, the police department, the city administration's allowing that. The other problem with the 24-hour overtime mess is home life doesn't work out like it should, and divorce rates and other problems show up. So 24 hours is needed, more policemen is needed to cure that problem, not overtime. Now, this police station mess is really great. We decided we needed a new police station, and we had this place about let's locating it. Now, you just heard Al Peterson talk about how some things are enforced and other things aren't, depending whether you're the city or not. Now, the city knows all about these things. They know where the waterfront is. They know where the wetlands are. They know where the 100-year floodplain is. And yet none of that information was passed to the architect, which seems strange. Also, when you hire an architect, you say, okay, this is what we want. And the architect says, oh, I'll get you an idea. Then you come back and discuss and make some changes. And sometimes you put in the contract, you change 3 or 4 times. Seems the next time they came back, we had to redesign the police station, which was a wholly new contract. That was big money, now it's compared to, so the city didn't do a good job on contract working. Now, the other thing, and I found this more disturbing, during the discussion of salaries, it was complained about that the chief talked with these officers about if you can't get what you want with just normal discussions, strike is a possibility. There were a lot of bad words said about the chief saying this. The police are a brotherhood. The chief was an officer once upon a time. And when the officers of the brotherhood don't have each other's back, you don't have a force.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but are we,
We're almost done. Yeah, we're not.
we're going way over. We have several.
We got a lot of problems that should have been handled months ago. So this business of trying to break up the police force between overtime, not allowing officers and executives of the police force to discuss with each other is a piece of bad news. The other thing, this goes back to record keeping, which you know I find great difficulty.
We gotta wrap it up, Steve.
I made a request that we have 4 police officers. That isn't even recorded, and we never got any. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Do we have any other comments? Here, do we have anybody online? Okay, all right. So we will move into length of service. So today we get to recognize a couple City of St. Helens employees. So we have 5 years for Patty Askeson and Mohammed which is fantastic. And if I could, if we can please get Chief Smith up, to possibly say something about Patty, and then you'll get your certificate, we'll get a picture, and if you can get a picture with council, that would be amazing. Congratulations. Link you up here, huh?
Well, it's difficult to come up with one or two or even a half dozen positive things to say about Patty because I could go on for the next 2 hours of what an incredible human being this is. So Patty wears a lot of different hats at our organization. She basically manages our entire records division, and she's also takes care of all of our property evidence. Today, she was meeting with with officials from the state to make sure we're compliant with our criminal justice information systems. And we went through an audit, and from what I hear, we did extraordinarily well. That is all due in part to her hard work and dedication to the organization. She's someone you can consistently count on to have a positive attitude. She brings solutions to the table when she identifies problems. She's just simply a model employee, and we as a city are blessed to have her here. Absolutely. You do.
Crystal, did you want to get a picture with, how do you want to do a picture?
Picture I'm going to need is going to be with everybody together, but
You want to just do it after we do Mohammed?
yeah, maybe because I don't have to keep it back.
Yeah, sorry. Well, congratulations, Patty. We'll do handshakes in a
back,
You're
Patty.
coming back. We're gonna be efficient here. So, John, would you do us the honor and, say a few words about Mohammed, please?
I will. Gladly will. I feel like we need to have some sort of a walk-up song to match your energy.
Glasses today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be humble.
Okay.
Let's go. forward. Just kidding.
You've brought a whole new level of energy in their 5 years here to the city, working with staff and leadership and done amazing things and working on the waterfront, those infrastructure projects we quizzed you on in your interview that you excelled at.
Thank you, John. He tricked me in my interview, but. So.
Partially true perhaps, but
No, thank you,
thank
John.
you for all the hard work you do, your work with the staff,
Appreciate you. Thank you.
getting us up to date on our master plans.
I think there are truly not enough words to say.
It's an honor. It's an honor. It's
We're
been,
lucky to have you.
I want to thank John and the mayor and the city council for believing in me and giving me the trust and the opportunity to really help the city and get us to where we are today. It's a privilege to work with our amazing public work team and leadership. It's just all around. I'm very thankful. Thank you.
I think you gotta stay down there.
Oh, the picture.
We're gonna do pictures. Crystal's gonna do pictures. We're gonna screw up all the name tags. We're gonna fix them for Crystal, like the whole thing. Yeah, I guess so. We're getting pretty good at this.
I think so. John,
All right, I'll get skinny.
We'll mess them all up behind us.
we're doing with the police, without the police.
No, we're gonna do separate ones. Well, since you're up here.
I think that's what you need one
I know, I tried to.
One together.
of every, Mohammed and Patty.
Okay, oh, okay. You just direct, we'll just stand. Stand by me.
Excited, Russ? You, no, can I? Stand by you. Side, yeah.
Balances.
Maybe Russ. You in front.
Okay. And then, Mohammed, can you stand to the side and wait? And then police. And then Russ, you can go to back to the other side if you want. Tell them what to do.
Balances.
Should we? Does that work? Or we?
Yeah, let's flip flop.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, please.
You want Doug here then?
I think this is fine. Unless Doug wants to be there.
I know.
A little tighter,
Okay.
more cozy.
A little shoulder in, I guess. but,
Right. And then.
Take a knee down.
Just lay.
We can hold him.
Should have had your glass. Oh, no, today. No, no. Jessica, can I have from you scoot over to the left? No, just everybody scoot to the left a little bit and then Mohammed right next to us a little bit.
On the other side or, okay, there.
Okay,
There you
There we go.
all right.
Hopefully everybody's eyes are open in one of those.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Absolutely.
Thank you. Perfect.
Okay. That moves us into our quarterly reports. I assume everybody had a chance to read all of these. Did you guys have any questions? The first one we had on here, anything with Public Works? You guys have any questions? I did not have any questions. Does anybody else have any questions or comments on the staff report for Public Works? While you're looking, I had a couple things I just noted here, but thank you for putting in an update on the punch list, the 90%. That was a hot topic, so it's good to see that it's still in the report. Thank you for doing that. Also, I did attend the reservoir sitting study. That was well put together. I love the fact that we actually had an open house where people could come in and ask direct questions. So I thought that that was fantastic that you put it together. I'm sure with the help of others as well. I love seeing the fact that we're doing that we're bringing an openness to allowing citizens to come in and ask questions. And I believe Councilor Hubbard, you were at that, you made it to that one as well, right?
Which one's that?
The reservoir sitting study.
Yes, that one.
It was well put together. So thank you for doing that. It looks like we have another one coming up in December for the utilities rate. So it's a good chance for citizens to come down and ask questions and get responses. And then did anybody else have anything else on Public Works? Great report. Thank you for that. We have then the library with Suzanne. The report. Does anybody have any comments or feedback for the library? I had one question. And it was library cards issued 474. So that's pretty remarkable. It's a 53% increase over 2024. I'm just wondering, do we track at any level age demographics? Do we have any idea what statistically we're looking at? Who's actually using the library? Is it stuff that's readily available or is it stuff that you would?
It is fairly relevant.
I want you to have to put.
No, it'll be fine. I'm just thinking if there's any anecdotal information. We have yeah, I guess I can't really think of anything except that we have a lot of younger people, particularly right now, because as the economy continues to change, we have a lot more folks coming in to get library cards. And you've seen that is, that's something that people are reporting to us when they come in from the library. I mean, I would say most of those folks are younger, in their 30s and 40s. Some bringing their families, but other folks are just coming in, applying for jobs and, looking for information about the community.
Okay, well, if it's not too much trouble, I would love to see that stat in the future, but otherwise, thank you for the report. And there's a lot of positivity and I guess more, every year it's like it increases for the usage. That's remarkable. Anybody else have anything for Suzanne?
Say, Suzanne, would you mind just sharing the difference that it's made enlarging the makerspace? How that's been?
I think two things. One is we're doing a lot more outreach to definitely the makerspace. It ebbs and flows, but it changes. Right now, we have a lot of craftspeople and artists that are using the makerspace to create thanks for the bazaars and lots of folks coming with families. We reduced the number of makerspace hours just to better balance, Janus time. We have not seen a decrease, in enthusiasm. So I guess I will say that it has had an impact, definitely. We see a lot more folks coming in the library as well as the makerspace. I don't have any hard numbers for that.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on the library? No? Okay, we'll move over into police with Chief Smith. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this? So I was a little bit shocked on bullet point number 2 with for September 3rd to December 3rd, 3,990 calls for service. Like that's a lot of calls for service. I love the fact that you broke down in here for the welfare checks, the suspicious circumstances, 14 suspected overdoses, 85 involving family disturbances, 84 domestic violence disturbances. These are why we need 24-hour coverage. This is exactly why we need to have it. 3,990 calls. That was really crazy. I love that you put that stat in there. Also, the detectives executed 2 different search warrants related to referrals from internet crimes against children. Like, that's just really sad that we even had 2, but great job on that. So those stats, I guess that those are just so, I'm a stat person just by nature. And when I look at that, that is pretty remarkable that a small force can handle that many calls. Which also, I always keep things, well, I'll save that for a second, but also for Lieutenant Treat, I noticed on the fleet reduction. I personally, on a budget side of things, love seeing the fact that if we can reduce and eliminate things that we don't need, the fact that states that reducing the size and cost of the fleet, vehicle fleet. So great job on that as well. If we don't need it, get rid of it, right? The only other thing I had was I have it in my queue for a staffing study. And I'm wondering if I know that, well, I assume that you guys are, getting in and doing a lot of, housekeeping items and improving things or whatever what you guys are doing. So I know that there's not a lot of time probably, but if possibly we could look at by the end of Q1 to have something going for a staffing study. We may not, like who's going to be looking at it or whatever the case is, because we may not be able to afford everything, but at least we know based on the population and statistically what what is recommended for a municipality of our size. That would be nice to have. That's something that council can use in the future. The last one we had is in 2012, I believe. So Chief Smith, is that a possibility that we could get that
Yes,
started?
I will make some contacts that I personally know at the Hatfield School of Government of Portland State and see if maybe we can get some assistance from some graduate students.
I think that'd be helpful, and I think it'd be beneficial as, costs go for staffing as well. Anybody have anything?
Just to say, it's great to see all of the continuing education and the training that's going on.
Neglected over the last couple of years, and we're trying to get back on track in that regard.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're moving on to staff report. So we have for water quality. Does anybody have any comments on this one?
Hey, Erin's gonna come up here.
Oh, good, because I do have notes. Hi, Erin.
Can I get the 3-minute timer going too?
No, we want more time. Might take us longer to get to.
Say any curse words, you're out of here though.
So, local limits are probably one of the most boring part of my job. They're basically, to sum it up, in the staff report, in the background, it kind of gives you a minor description of it, but basically what it does is it
looks at all the contaminants, not all the contaminants, it's a list of contaminants EPA sets forward. And it looks at those, what's coming into the plant and what's leaving the plant. And based on that, that's what we can give the limit, or that's what instructs us to give limits to the industry. So our industries, they can only give or discharge a certain percentage or a certain concentration of these. And that's what dictates that. It helps us because it makes it very easy for us. Like I said, EPA, they put it out there, DEQ enforces it. The first time we did it was in 2017. Prior to that, with the amount of wastewater we got from the mill, it was negligible, so they didn't require us to have local limits. But like I said, in 2017, they came out, and that's the first time we did that. With our new permit renewal that came out last December, a year ago, in there, it's requiring us to do another one. It's not a bad thing. So what we're looking at is hiring an individual to go back to C1 if they're adequate. They may be adequate. We may not need to do anything. We may need to lower them. We may be able to raise them. We do have an industry that is struggling to meet one of the parameters. And this would help them. And the problem with that one is that industry isn't really doing anything necessarily wrong, but they just can't get their limits down far enough. And that's where the headache is. And if we have higher limits, it may affect us, our ability to bring in new industry, new commercial businesses, that kind of thing. So it's a good thing to do. It's been, 8 years, so we'll get it done. But the recommendation is to use, the gentleman's name is Steve Anderson. He actually started working for the city, I believe it was in around 2004. He was on the team that developed our pretreatment program. So he knows our program really well. And he also did our local limits in 2017. And he was a term limited employee at that time. But he's out on his own now, and he's very familiar with our system. And as you can see from the quotes and bids that we got, he's by far cheaper than the others, which isn't necessarily what we're going for because we want it done correctly, but I'm confident that he can do it correctly for that lower price.
Does anyone have any questions or comments?
And I don't have any stats for you. You said you liked them. I was like,
I was gonna ask for stats, but when I went through this, because there's stuff that's new to me and me personally that I don't know some of these people, and so one of the things that I'm looking at the surface agreement that we're going to be looking at tonight, and I don't see any resume, a name, which is fine. He could be an independent contractor, but I didn't see any confirmation that he meets the DEQ qualified person expectations. I didn't see a list of projects, degrees, anything that has that he be qualified. No deliverables, dates on the service agreement, and maybe this is for John. A contingent plan if DEQ rejects information, if there's a guaranteed revision support on that, if we have to go back, if there's capped. I had a whole bunch of issues with the service agreement, I guess what it comes down to. But for the question for you is, okay, you gave a little more information. He worked for us in 2004 and 2017. He just shows up here and it's Steve Anderson, right? So I just would like to know more about him to make sure that he is really a qualified individual that is going to perform this assessment for us that's going to be accepted by DEQ. Does that make sense? I don't know anything about this guy, so.
yeah, I mean, I can tell you what I've told you he's done. He does this on his own, and he does many of these a year. I have total confidence in him. I understand my confidence doesn't necessarily translate to yours. But this is what he does. He's retired, and this is what he does now. And I mean, I don't know. I could contact him, have him give you a list of
Just the other municipalities he's done the same thing for.
I didn't see I didn't see a list on that, but I can ask Sean. So in 2004 and 2017, when we did the professional service contract, did we vet all that out for resume and
In 2004, he was with a company called G4. And that's who did our development program. In 2017, he was a term limited employee, and that's how we contracted with him, not contracted, but how we had used his services at that time.
maybe this is just like something that to talk about later on like the service plan, maybe, because it lists, this is like our boilerplate language, but again, there's like. There was a whole bunch of different things in this service agreement that seems like. Why do we not have these in our service agreement, I guess, right? No deliverable on deadline date, no proof of, you know, there's. Again, no confirmation, he needs to DEQ with us in there, there's no contingency plan if DOJ, or excuse me, the DEQ rejects the evaluation. There's not a guarantee revision clause, there's no cap for hours on it. No conflict of interest disclosure, like there's a whole bunch of things that I
That's
just,
why we need HR.
yeah, so.
Mayor, I really appreciate all of your comments. I think if you could either send or email them, we can always look to improve the scope of work template and also any contract provisions to add to them to help protect the city and to provide better definition of what the scope of work is. That type of communication is helpful.
So,
Please
yeah,
send me those and we can keep, I know that we also have on the agenda improving the contracting process for 2026, so we can make sure to get these comments integrated and incorporated.
yeah, that would be great. And then the only thing I have is just like, again, I mean, it makes me more comfortable to work for us in 2004, 2017. I mean, I'd like to know what other places he's worked for, and I mean, it's Steve Anderson. I mean, right, that's all I know that I'm looking at here, so. And it all makes sense and why we need to do this, and yes, he is vastly cheaper or less expensive, I should say, than the other individuals, but.
Like I mentioned, I think a lot of that is his familiarity. He's very familiar with everything. I mean, he was the one who set up all of our sampling last time. So it should be kind of a plug and play to his last.
That's helpful.
Erin, do you have any recommendations for the contract based on this feedback? Are you looking for updates to the contract?
Well, I mean, the contract is what it is right now. When I was reading the contract, those are the red flags that just jump out at me, right? It's like those things that I had mentioned, but you know, it'll be up to council to decide whether these are fatal flaws within the current service agreement contract that would not cause this to go forward with a, you know, positive vote. I don't know, in the future, I definitely would like to see more robust nomenclature in our service agreements to, you know, protect us from those type of things, but that's just me. So, I don't know. Anybody else?
I agree with you.
Anybody else have anything?
Sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's why we kind of have that earmark to discuss during council meeting, because it's a problem, you know, across the board, just like jumping ahead to what it should look like.
Because we have RSP, we have that we're gonna improve on, so we can maybe just this as that's just an opportunity to improve. Yeah. But it still doesn't, I mean, this is Steve Anderson, so that's who we're like moving. Just want to meet the guy now. All right, so does anybody else have any questions for Erin? It was a good report though, by the way. Thank you for putting it together and all the information. I read through it. It made a lot of sense. And also fantastic job. You did a remarkable job for the city. Thank you so much.
I try, because I live here, so I better do it.
Thank you so much. Okay. That moves, that was our last one, wasn't it? Okay, so then we have the review staff report regarding WWTP. No, we just did that, sorry. I did. We have discussion regarding the frequency of joint meetings with boards and commission. Jacob, welcome.
Yes. Well, it looks like I got roped into this just because the planning commission discussed it. It is something that's supposed to encompass all committees and commissions. So let me give you a little bit of context here. So the joint meetings, the planning commission discussed this at their October meeting. We talked about frequency. And surprising to me, they recommended once a year, and we've been doing them quarterly with the commission. You know, my assumption is that we talk about 2 per year, like the other committees and commissions have started doing. So they voted for 1 per year. And so, well, all right, maybe we should have this discussion then. So this is for the calendar year for the next calendar year for meeting schedules. And then also, the next planning commission joint meeting is next Wednesday. And so whether or not you want to have that or not. But let's talk about a little bit of background first. So it's kind of an evolution. For as long as I can remember, the committees and commissions have had an annual report where a staff member or a committee member, you know, here's what's happened in last year. That's kind of evolved from the joint meeting scenario where you have the joint meeting in lieu of the actual presentation. Now, the planning commission has been doing the joint meetings since December of 2022. The other groups have been more recent. So the planning commission said once per year and earlier in the calendar year. I think that way it's before the budget season. I don't necessarily see it as a negative if all the committees and commissions go to one meeting. Kathy did put out a communication blast just for input for the other ones. And I don't know what kind of feedback you got from them. I heard from library that they didn't have a very strong opinion. But where it used to be just someone standing here giving their presentation, you know, that evolving into more of a roundtable scenario, I think is a good thing. It's just a question of frequency. So I don't know if you necessarily need to make a decision on that tonight, because that would be something for the next calendar year. You certainly could, but you probably should figure out if we want to have a joint meeting with the commission next Wednesday or not.
Kathy, what was the feedback from the other commissions? Did you get any?
I'm pretty sure, if Brandon, you might be able to help me on this, but I'm pretty sure they are okay with once a year also.
I don't remember seeing any of that, but.
I don't remember seeing, I don't even remember when we had that last one, when we talked about that. I don't recall where I was saying like once a year. My recollection is twice a year is what I recall.
Yeah, that was from the joint meeting. It was kind of a, well, let's talk about this more. And so we did at the next planning commission meeting. And, you know, I was surprised when, you know, we didn't even suggest once and it was unanimous.
My personal opinion is I think it should be twice a year. I think once a year is a very long time to not have one. I think quarterly, my personal opinion is quarterly is probably too often, especially when we've not had like the attendance. But I think twice a year is more reasonable to me. That's a lot of stuff going on, you know, with those commissions. So but that's up to everybody.
I'm fine with either or. I think just, you know, kind of going back historically, I feel like the motivation for doing it more often was to allow the commissions to focus on more proactive items and to be able to work with the, you know, council in more of a roundtable effect versus a presentation to us. You know, we want to feel like we're all a part of the team that makes decisions for the city. So I definitely am in favor of continuing the more of a roundtable meeting where it is more of a discussion and where those commissions have an opportunity to work on proactive items with us. So I like that. No, if it needs, I don't really have a say over the frequency though.
We did twice a year, and if one wasn't necessary, can't we just cancel it?
Sure.
A hybrid to that, you could have one joint meeting and one presentation also at a commission could come before. But it needs to work, so.
I felt like they were giving the last joint planning commission meeting, we Parks and Trails, it was almost like we're getting a presentation while we were sitting there, which was helpful because there were several things that came out of that meeting that we found that were important to them, that we as council could provide potentially more support to them that are spending their time and efforts volunteering for these missions, so. I like Council Gunderson's mentality. If you plan to, and if you don't need it, then scratch it. You don't have anything going on, but who knows in the future when we have, you know, the waterfront going on or other things that.
Sure. And the waterfront, you know, the timing of the waterfront development sequence may not work with the predetermined scheduled meetings. And, you know, then we just have to have an ad hoc one, which, you know, we can do. We've done that many times before we had the quarterly ones. Well, not many times, but occasionally. So that's food for thought. Input for the next week's meeting. We don't really have anything, and we do kind of have a brutal planning commission meeting the night before, so it'd be a good one to cancel and not judge.
Support that.
Vote to cancel it.
We have a general consensus to counsel that.
I agree with that. Agreed.
Any more on that?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so John, review leak adjustment at 196 South River Street.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. We have representatives of Gas Landing at 196 River Street here. I don't know if you want to, Rich, if you want to come up and talk about this. They had a pretty significant leak there and are requesting adjustment.
Oh, yeah.
Difficult to detect leak, I'll say that. So
What happened was that it's basically a huge leak over a 2 month or a month and a half or whatever period. It that meter is supplying the irrigation system for the homeowners for all of the townhouses, and it is also supplying water to the marina. So both the marina and the homeowners were trying to take down the leaks. And each one was assuming that the other one was chasing down the leaks. And one of us was out of town for 2 weeks. So it wasn't until one of us got back in early July that we discovered that the actual leak was in the marina, which all of our water lines are right along the surface or under the surface of the water. So if there's a leak, we don't see a stream of water. It's hard to detect. So that's why it ran for several weeks. So once we determined where the leaks were, that we got them fixed, and all of the documents are there that we submitted with our request. The amount that you have come up with, and that we were assuming that you would look back on historical usage for the last previous year and go off of that.
Remind me, is there in policy for this? It says city will use the customer's average seasonal usage for the previous 3 years based on consumption. Right?
that is what,
Letter C.
right, yes.
So is that not what he's saying?
Well, then it's over $1,000.
Oh,
That's the reason it comes to council.
I'm trying to go on what he was just referring to.
Average.
You were saying that it was not an average, it was the last
This
couple.
month last year is what he was saying.
Yeah.
So we use an
It's not,
average
it's-
of the last
Okay.
3 years.
Yeah, because usually we don't use water. The irrigation system is turned off and water is shut off for both the docks and the irrigation. Starting in for irrigation, it's
as soon as it starts raining again, that gets shut off. The docks get shut off in November. And it doesn't go back on until usually March of the following year.
Quick question for you. On the note, it says customer had multiple leaks fixed, which makes sense. But then they installed a new shut off and fixed a hose bib that had snapped off. The hose bib that had snapped off, was that a source of a leak that was?
At the bib?
That's what it says, fixed hose bib that was snapped off, and that was on both.
Yeah. Where the spigots or whatever down on the dock, and that what happens is either if there's debris or if someone yanks on a hose or whatever, it'll snap that PVC.
Right.
And what happens when that snaps, the pipe falls down and basically into the river. And there's, there's no way, there's no evidence that there's a leak. And that's so,
But that was an active leak though, that hose bib that had broke off.
and, that was an active leak that wasn't found until we had to basically get on our hands and knees and almost stick our head down in the water to see where those leaks are. What we're doing before the water turns back on for the marina is we're gonna be installing a flow monitor system. And that, that'll basically, it'll be preset, and once it spots a leak, it'll send a notice to an app on one of our phones, and it'll shut off automatically. It's, the amount that could, the marina could potentially be responsible for is over $8,000 that we have to reimburse back to the HOA.
Does anybody else have any questions?
That's proactive, putting the leak detector in, and also because the dock is a fragile system being all plastic out. That's a good fix, and they're being proactive about it.
That was one of my notes here. Did they have or receive or participate in any abnormal usage alert system? And so.
Yeah, we'll be getting a local plumbing company to get us bids and get that installed before the water turns back on at the marina.
My only concern was the timeliness. It looked like this was from June and July, but the paperwork wasn't filled out until October for the leak adjustment. Is that right?
The paperwork was turned in, and one of the owners said that we wanted to make sure and find all the leaks before we submitted the final request.
Answer on the timeliness.
I don't know exactly when these things came in, but
The date was filled out. I see what Counselor Sunday is saying. The date filled out was November 3rd.
So it just says in the policy, it should be filled out within 45 days.
communication with Rich here, he said that the bills were being on auto pay and
Yeah, they
didn't even realize it.
the water bills are auto paid, so, and that goes to our PO box. So there was a big, there was a lot of time that got lost in that, and like I said, nobody, unless it comes to one of our attentions, like I said, I was out of town for like 3 weeks and during June and July.
Were you looking at the October 31st is when we received it?
No, I was looking at, I think, let me go back. I see that where when you received it October 31st, that's stamped, but the paperwork, it looked like the leak adjustment request was filled out on November 3rd. But
Okay,
Can you help with that?
He'd actually been working with the utility billing department prior to when we received that initial application. So he did notify the city and was working with the gals over there. And then I remember when she submitted the request for the leak, the gal in utility billing, I requested that because she didn't give us as much information as we normally get. So I asked her to have that information filled out, and that's when she came up with all that other stuff.
Do we know when that happened?
It was around October. It had to be just before probably October 31st.
We're just trying to figure out if it's within that 45-day policy. For permit, and if the leak happened in June or July. I'm wondering, did you start talking to the utility department in August?
Yes.
That's what I was trying to explain. Yeah, I just don't know exactly what date.
Right. I think that's what's in question.
We started working with the water department in late June, early July. As a matter of fact, we had somebody come out and put a data logger on the system.
It sounds to me like you did everything you could do. You
Yeah.
fixed the leak and all.
And you're being proactive going
Yeah,
forward.
I'm doing, make sure it does not be perfect.
Thank you for the explanation. Rita, anybody else have any?
Council doesn't make decisions in work session, so that we'll go to the evening meeting and the work session action item.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Regular. So that moves us into the exciting side by side. So I'll take this one. For a little context on this ordinance, this is something that was brought up. I brought it up for our, I don't know, strategic goal planning back in February of this year. This is a topic that when, well, before I even took office, that I had many constituents request this, the ability to operate street legal side by sides within the city of St. Helens. There are many municipalities that do allow it. Rainier is the most recent one that just approved theirs. Columbia County is looking to do that as, I guess, as a whole. They're putting together a work session. When I started putting together this ordinance, I did a ton of research. I will state for the record that I have zero interest myself in operating a side by side in the city. That's not for me, but this was fulfilling one of the hottest topics that I personally had requested. And I tried to beat this up as much as I can on the what ifs. When I started putting the information together and when I finished the first draft, I had sent it over to, at that time, the interim chief, who then did research with a couple of municipalities. The two questions that were really hammered on was, one, does this cause any more work for police officers and police services? Two, did they see an increase in accidents within their communities? Both of those answers were no. I then took the ordinance and then I shared it with Sheriff Pixley, who, since I knew that there was a commissioner that was interested, he had multiple comments that wanted reviewed or added to this. There was age provisions, some additional safety precautions. And my whole goal there was if the city was interested in doing it and then the county, why not have an ordinance that had continuity? So after he gave his input, I updated the ordinance and that was presented during the City Council Joint Planning Commission, where it was approved to basically just come to council. There was no major objections or red flags at that point. From there, I actually took the ordinance and had Chief Smith review it for content, liability, and other safety related things. And one of the topics that he had brought up was not enough nomenclature for liability in the form of verbiage for insurance. So at that point, I contacted my insurance and got a better understanding of how insurance works for cycles. It's under a cycle policy. It has ATV and UTV coverage. It's the same thing for liability, just if you are driving a car. And then I feel like I did a pretty good job, although I do not care for social media. I did try to get it out as many places I possibly could so that, you know, people could engage and provide comments. And then I actively engaged in those comments because there's a lot of things that did come up like instantly was like, there's a noise issue. Well, there's also, it's in the provision for the ordinance that the noise isn't like, you're not permitted to have it. It's whether they're street legal, riding them off terrain. They're not allowed. They have to be per the ORS street legal. They have to have the signals. They have to have all of the things that make them no different than a vehicle on the road. Arguments have come up on or points. Well, I have an SUV or a Ford 250 and they're not as strong. And the reality is there's motorcycles that are out on the road that are much smaller, harder to see. So I feel like that argument didn't really fly. And that was my litmus test to that. And quite honestly, these SUV or the side-by-sides are built better than almost like a Buick SUV nowadays. So they are constructed. Cars nowadays don't have 4-point harnesses. They don't have a lot of the things that a side-by-side actually has. And this one I think is pretty comprehensive. Everything from licensing to the type of UTV or ATV. It's not like the four-wheelers. It's an actual ATV that is out there that would have to be licensed. It has to have the correct insurance, no different than having additional cars with all the other things that are in here. Even 18 years old. The safety belts, the personal protection between helmets and safety glasses. And a couple of those, I think it was the safety glasses, if I recall correctly, that even Sheriff Pixley had put in there. It's no different than operating any other type of vehicle that is on the road. If you look at the Polaris Spiders that are out there, that are those like 3-wheel ones that roll around this town all the time, same thing. A liability, etc. has to be street legal per the ORS. That is a law that is there. This, I think, is pretty detailed on what this allows and what this does not allow. So, and I also put the Spotlight ran an article and that's the one I think I mostly engaged with because I'm not really sure if, you know, a lot of people actually read the ordinance when they first were making the comments, which is fine. That's what we're here to communicate. But, you know, there was, and I don't want to measure anything by social media, but it looks like that's the way that society is nowadays. So there's, you know, 152 comments on there, 86 of them, 81.80% of all of the responses were positive on this for whatever it's worth. Not that I'm really wanting to measure things off of social media. So I've had a lot of people communicate with me about this. And again, Rainier already did it and it's going to the county and it sounds like the state is interested and also potentially looking forward to how they could also do this through the DMV. So. Are you stirring?
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I don't know when to chime in. I'm waiting.
Yeah, I mean,
for you. That was good. That was good. That was a lot of information. So I appreciate all of that, Mayor. I just had some thoughts when I was looking through the ordinance that you drafted. One of them is I didn't see any mention of car seats with children. As a mom, that's the first thing I think about is car seat safety. And I think we need to think about that as well. You know, someone wants to put their kid in there, they need to follow the guidelines of, you know, car seats. And if what the law requires as far as booster seats and age and height requirements and stuff, just to keep kiddos safe as well. And then I didn't understand the reasoning for the 18 or older because we allow 16-year-olds if they have a driver's license to drive any vehicle they want on the road.
Yeah.
So I don't really see a need for that.
So the reason that I put that in there, if I recall correctly, that also came from the sheriff. I
I just
believe
don't
I
know.
had 16 because they can operate motorcycles on the road and they can operate, I think
If they have a legal driver's license.
so I think the more so was, maybe safe driving. I mean, I agree with you. If they can legally operate a vehicle, a motorcycle or anything else that
Yeah.
they're licensed for on the road, maybe that needs to be modified. But we also have the chief here and the lieutenant that can also chime in, and I hope that they do, if they have any feedback on that. I think the car seats is very valid.
Car seats is valid.
Huge miss.
I'm kind of with the sheriff on the 18, where if we have a relatively new driver operating a car, that's one thing, it is legal, but putting a 16-year-old behind the wheel of a side-by-side on public streets, I don't know, I can see the sheriff's
The
perspective.
car's more dangerous. Bigger,
It's more protection,
have more passengers,
more protection for the 16-year-old driver and
a lot faster.
side by side. Also thinking of the dynamic, not necessarily hitting someone, but someone hitting them.
If you're comparing it to a motorcycle.
Yeah, we can't do public comment right now, but if you have a public comment, you can come back tonight at 7 and do a public comment. But we can't take any more right now.
That's just my thought, I didn't see the reasoning for the 18 or older, but I mean, I'm open to suggestions about it. And then are we proposing that the permit fee would be an annual? That wasn't clear to me.
Biannual.
Biannual. So you would get a sticker that would last for 2 years.
Yes,
Okay.
and I didn't define the fee because obviously that would be up to council.
Yes, and then the other thing was I was thinking about, implementing this, and interpretation is gonna be a big part of it, right? So someone driving an ATV is gonna interpret the law one way. Someone issuing a ticket is gonna interpret the law one way. So we want to try to make make it as clear as possible. And to me, it was a little bit confusing with the wording of daylight hours restriction. I think it should just be something like, during, when it is dark, headlights and lights are required. I don't think it should be like, oh, daylight, because then, someone gets pulled over and they're like, well, it's not daylight hour yet. And they're just arguing about, time of day. So that's just my thought.
And go, what's the feedback? What's the feedback from police?
I'm sort of neutral in that position.
I mean, they would have to have the headlights if they're operating a vehicle at night. So that's a good point.
So then it's not like they're, referencing, looking back in the ordinance and interpreting it differently than someone else. It just opens it up to,
Ambiguity.
yes,
Okay, I like that.
that's all I had.
Okay, so the recap, car seats. And then daylight. I'm gonna say that, I'll be honest, I did not enjoy doing any research on this. This one was painful for me to be honest, because this was a lot of research for things that I am not aware of.
Mayor, can I make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
Piece of language, so section 8, subsection A on helmets. Depending on how you read that subsection, it may only require passengers to wear a helmet. You kind of look at the wording on there and see that maybe if we just rephrase that a little bit to say that individuals that are inside the vehicle.
I did see that too, yeah. Again, it's it could be,
Yeah,
cause an argument possibly.
so we could just take out that ambiguously. Okay. Every time I read through this, I caught something a little bit more. I just got tired of looking at it.
Sometimes you need other eyes to look at it.
Yeah,
right?
the ORSs on this were painful.
I'm really surprised you didn't catch the car seat thing.
I
think it occurred to me.
didn't have a grandchild, and I didn't have a grandchild at the time, so like, I just missed that one. I haven't had car seats in a long time, but that was a really good point.
Well,
like
I
that
have
one.
multiple kids in car seats, so I understand, and I value the importance of car
Yeah,
seats.
for sure.
So.
You have anything, Counselor Hubbard?
No, it sounds a lot safer than the scooters at 45 miles an hour with no helmet, no light. So maybe that's the next one.
Well, I think that's the other thing that's interesting, because I know what people are talking about too, because those electric scooters, there's several times that like you're trying to pull out of a parking lot and they just come out of nowhere on the sidewalk, right? So, I mean, is that a citable thing that they could get cited for? Because this they can get cited for if they're operating it unsafe.
The major issue with those types of electronic scooters is not necessarily what the statute says, but how they're operated. And when you have a vehicle like that driving the wrong direction down the street, crisscrossing traffic, not signaling, yeah, there's violations that they can be cited for.
I think the other thing that didn't get like brought up, and maybe, I'm not sure if people picked up on it too, these are not allowed to be just driven straight down the highway. The language in here is basically crossing Highway 30. So it's not like you can just cruise all the way down Highway 30. And I believe that Rainier wrote theirs the same way, just there's this a lot more ambiguous and not as comprehensive. So it's cross streets.
You mean I can't drive to Scappoose and back? Dang.
Right.
What about car seat?
Counselor Gunderson?
I don't have a problem with this. I think, yeah. What was that? There's some language in it. Not what I. Not my thing, but I get it.
It's cold to me,
I
honestly.
get it. I get it.
Go for Cindy.
I don't feel strongly one way or the other. I think you've done your homework. My only question, I know it's hard to say for sure, but do you have any estimate how many of these are floating around town?
I honestly do not. I tried to do some research on it. I didn't. I mean, I would be very interested to know that myself. I don't know. I would just be making it up if I see an answer on it. I'm not sure. But I would say that there are a vast amount based on the amount of people that asked me to
Side by side.
do the ordinance and how many people responded to the social media. And maybe if they don't have one now, they might be buying one. So I don't know.
I'm assuming if someone gets pulled over, and they don't have a sticker, there's gonna be like an educational moment where we talk to them about it, cause I can't imagine everybody is going to know just right away, oh, I gotta go get this registered.
So that was something that Rainier did have in theirs, was there was punitive damages, like basically, or fees, if in fact they, from the. It was something like, and I can't recall exactly what the nomenclature is, but they had, like, the third one was like, they wouldn't be able to get another annual permit, so if they had violation. But also, like, in the spirit of not trying to overly burden, the staff, it seemed like that was a lot of administrative things potentially on the city side if you're trying to track that, versus they're gonna get a citation through the police, then that's what they're gonna get penalized on their behavior, right?
Right.
So, and I assume that after X amount of times of having citations, then they would put their own license in jeopardy. Potentially,
Essentially.
so.
Well, and there, I would just remind you, as long as they're being cited under the ORS, but if we're creating our own specific infractions, there needs to be city ordinances associated with that, so they could be cited with city ordinances.
So there would, so in this, it would be like if they didn't have the PPE, for example, right? Then it would be, they would be cited under this ordinance under section 8B. Right? But we don't have any monetary aspect assigned to that.
That would be codified in your ordinance.
Why don't we just have it follow state law, which covers all of that?
That's probably the easiest thing to do.
Work. I'm side by sided out.
Be the same for the car seat standards, Stan.
Okay, so
And that too.
I think that's. Thank you. All right,
Again, state law won't cover somebody not having a sticker.
right.
Issued by the city.
So that would have to be a separate, law that we would
It'd
develop.
be an ordinance, yeah. And we could do that when we deal with all the fees, right? Like that would be in that section of it. Because I've never written an ordinance the first time I did this, so I had the potential annual fee listed in here erroneously. So I learned that you don't put that in the ordinance, so I removed it, and then we would have to choose what that is later, so that could be added.
I think, for next steps, it sounds like council could have a consensus to direct the city administrator to take this under further review and have it prepared and have legal review it and other staff review it. And sounds like there's been a good stakeholder review so far, but city administrator can also kind of coordinate that effort, and then it could be brought back to city council for further review.
Perfect. Then what I would ask on that, the changes for car seat. Well, I think that we'd have to come to a consensus on the 18 or older aspect, because that's the only one that really sticks out on, and the daylight hours as well. Those two things I think that we would have to address, because that language needs to be changed in here.
So I think when you direct John to take a look at this, he can review all those items and then present the ordinance for, in another work session for city council to review. And then he can flag those areas where are those, here's some recommendations we've received, and they can take a look at it at that time.
Are you excited about
I'm
this?
so excited.
Yeah, you're welcome, Joe.
Go out and get a side by side.
Right. All right, so anything more on side by sides? Chief, Lieutenant, do you have anything more on side by sides? Okay, so we'll, John, if you could take, you have notes of what those three items were, the daylight, the car seats, and then the 18 and older, you'll work that. When can we expect this to come back in front of council? Because I know I'm gonna get asked.
You want to have any more over this, or is there? Is this?
I mean, we've had joint planning, we've had like, they'll have another opportunity when we have another work
Come back
session.
then with a revised.
Yep.
It also needs legal review, so we kind of, but John and I'd have to coordinate on the timing for some of those items.
I just want to make sure that we have like, because I guarantee when I walk out of here, that will be asked. And so I want to have some reasonable, you know, I know we have other things in the queue. We have the nuisance ordinance that we still need to look at. We're still dealing with, you know, we still work with the Sand Island. So I want to be reasonable about it, but also give people answers.
Next council meeting, John.
I think that's probably too soon.
Okay.
Can we look at it for potentially either the first or second meeting in January? Can we, what about the second weekend or second meeting in January?
Should be doable.
Great. Yeah.
Right now, we have a whole lot of work that's just, this year, from here now to the end of the year is really.
We're also trying to open a
Paper mill, and I'm gonna be honest, I think I did most of your work here, so I think most of the work is gonna be done already. I don't ever want to do another one, so.
You might want to tighten up the language, like if I want to cross 30, and I start at Deer Island, and I'll go to Gable, I have to cross 30.
You can cross 30.
He's saying he doesn't want you.
Island, on 30, so I'm crossing Deer Island, so I go out into 30.
Yeah.
I'm going to Gable to cross. That's legal,
You can only cross Highway 30.
that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
language.
Can you want to look at that, or do you want me to have Matt? You go look at that.
Why don't we have legal look at it and then go back on it?
And just to confirm, the intent is for it to, for side by sides to be able to operate in the city of St. Helens, but only in a certain area.
It's just, all of St. Helens, but you can only cross Highway 30. Like you can go from one side to the other. That is, you're not supposed to be driving continuously down Highway 30. It's
But all side streets and.
yeah, would be legal, and it's street legal. So it's not, you know, you can't have the knobby tires. You can't have like the traditional abandoned dunes, sand lake. Not street legal out there. It has to be street legal.
No, it's no fun.
So Mayor, one other point.
Yes.
Does there need to be a certain distance put in there? For example, if I am on St. Helens and I want to get to Columbia, and so I have to turn and drive down Highway 30 to get to Columbia.
That was saying.
That's what-
Feet down the highway.
That's what Counselor Hubbard's saying. So do you have a suggestion?
Turn right on Sykes, you know?
Yeah.
I think there should be some limit of how far they can
What's
travel.
the limit?
I think St. Helens to Columbia. Because you will get people who want to go down Deer Island all the way to Pittsburgh, or all the way to Columbia. They're saying, yeah, I'm crossing over. This is the closest point that I can cross over.
Got that, John?
I do, thank you.
Is there anything else that we can wrap up so we don't have to bring this back up after January?
Not that I can think of offhand.
Okay. And you guys have a draft copy of it, so you can take, would you guys also just take, I know, because every time I looked at it, I found like something else to modify in it. So can you guys take one last look at it and then get John anything else that would be needed? Okay. All right. Moving on from the discussion on side by sides. Updates on parks and trails. So this is me again. We had the joint planning commission or the Parks and Trails Commission meeting. And so Counselor Sunday and Counselor Gunderson, correct me if I'm wrong, or I missed something, but there were a few items that were from that meeting. One of them was the signage, that they wanted to get that signage done. It sounds like that it's really intensive to do. There's one question about the signage down in the waterfront and maybe where it's put, that we would need to just look at potentially as a council to agree on, but the rest, it sounds like they already know where the signage is, they would like it to go. And it sounds, or I recall correctly, it's been in the works for a really long time. So I'd like to know where we're at with this, and is this something we can help them?
Give you a little, Mohammed's here too, so I might have him chime in, but so just a refresher. So this is, you've all got this map. This is the urban trail. So basically the brainchild of Jerry Belcher. He's been developing this for years. And
Doug.
and Doug's also, involved and lots of people are interested in it. So basically a walking trail through the downtown area that visits in or near several city parks. Eventually, I think the goal is to have the trail continue along the Riverwalk once that is finished, but since it's not, it takes this little jet into Nob Hill Park. So after the joint meeting, Counselor Gunderson and myself went with several members of the Parks Commission, and they identified the spot down in Columbia View Park where they would like their kiosk, where they would like the trail to begin. I sent that to Mohammed. He gave his okay. So maybe you want to say where you're at, Mohammed, with this. I know you've been working on this for a long time too.
Yeah, no, this is an accurate recollection of where we are today. I think part of the delays was the big project on the waterfront and some of the proposed signage. They were along construction area, so we could not approve anything on that side simply because more development is going to be occurring. We cannot build it there. So yeah, last we check in with our public works facility supervisor. I talked to him and I gave him my full support and blessing on moving forward with that. So we did connect with the Parks and Commission, and I know the last feedback I heard from him was they're very pleased, and Jerry Belcher is on the moon, which is great. I'd like to see them happy. Yeah, they're moving forward. I think our team is going to be supporting a lot of the labor and support with installation and whatnot. I know there was a question on one down the park. I'm not sure where that is, if that has been discussed at all, but I can check in. Buck is out today sick. He's back tomorrow. I will follow up with them just to make sure that it's go.
So is there anything that council needs to do, like as far as that goes? Because it didn't seem like this is something we needed to vote on or.
Yeah, Mayor, my kind of approach is I'll try to save you the headache and time of anything like that, unless it's really important to bring it up. Otherwise, we can handle all this logistics and get, positive outcome without the need of, all that. But as far as I know, again, everything's going good and we are moving forward.
Perfect. That is nice.
And council, you can always reach out to me directly if you need help or escalation of any delays. I can.
And then I think John.
Yeah, I just wanted to started the design of the Riverwalk project. We did, this construction, what you see now and what was the 30% design of what's the rest of that. Part of that effort was to come up with a interpretive signage plan that tells different stories about the river. And a couple of the signs you'll see the two on the Riverwalk overlooked right there. You'll see one, the welcome at the monument right there. The one at the Tualatin there, there's signs there, and there's some future signs that go up in those future phases. And I just want to be careful that we're not cluttering it up with new signs and kiosks and things that might, a sign to direct people for this trail could be co-located in a lot of different places and not even have, and it could be duplicated and it could be at the one in Nob Hill Park and it could be on both sides of it. And, things of that nature. So
I guess that is the question, is who's determining where the signage is going?
We should have had pre kind of preliminary sketch of where those signs were supposed to go. So I will get a copy of that and I will send it to you, John. And if you'd like, you can share with the council. And that way we just all on the same page of where it's going. The parks would love to have their way signs every 5 feet. However, we can't have so many signs because we already have existing ones. And as John mentioned, the park specifically has its own furnishing of those wayfinding, so we don't want to clutter the place with too many signs. But it's supposed to be done tastefully. We are spaced properly.
Signs need to be uniform though, so if you're on the trail, you know you're automatically on the trail just by sight.
Yeah, I think that we saw the template, looks really great. So it looks like it was at the joint.
It'll be a painted stencil.
Yeah. So I think that part is good. So again, you guys will work together on where the signage is supposed to go.
Sounds good. We'll find a happy medium for everybody.
I think that, my impression was that through the joint planning, Parks and Trail Commission was that they were just looking for us to help support getting this done. And that's what we're trying to do as council.
Can I say anything as vice chair of the Parks Commission or not?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Go ahead.
The biggest area that I'd see that probably would be a little bit of variance of where some of our concrete ones would be is going through Novel Nature Park. Because there's so many zigs and zags in there, but I'm supposed to meet with Buck to talk about that. A lot of the other ones are gonna be, a lot of places will just be stencils on the street. For the direction it's done, so I thought I'd just bring that up.
Yeah, no, thank you, Howard. Appreciate it. Yeah.
The only other one too is you talk about too many signs. I've always been asking and they keep saying, well, hopefully you're gonna do it, but I've been asking for a small kiosk at the base of the steps going up and hopefully that doesn't interfere with any of your future signs or plans and that.
To me, that seems like a great place for a kiosk.
Great. Thank you, Howard. And then also on the same theme for the Parks and Trails. So it came up on the master plan. There's several things that they had talked about and some of the language it was discussed at that meeting, and chime in, either of you, if I recall this incorrectly, but we don't really have the staff at the time right now to update or do a new master plan. So there were a couple things that they were looking to see if we can get as like amendments or addendums to the master plan. Certain language that they wanted in there in one of the chapters or whatever.
Master plan was just done recently, wasn't it?
2015.
No, it's pretty old, and those master plan, they are not typically, they're never done internally. It requires a big force with a lot of expertise outside. For example, the master plan for the wastewater system, that's $120,000, 6 months long process. We don't do that. And then I think back in the days, 15 years ago, maybe Jenny started this, right? And it was the first master plan we had in the city for the parks. And we were supposed to tackle another one, given all the great amount of work we have. But I think that's just something we haven't approached.
First one was in the 90s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Jacob.
This is something they were talking about when I was on the commission 4 years ago. But I think the estimate was well over $100,000 for a new
Wow.
master plan. So if you haven't seen our current master plan, it is very comprehensive. It's a great master plan. There's a lot of things in there that have been checked off and accomplished, and then a lot of things that haven't. But the current Parks Commission has some additional things that, yeah, they would like to add and amend. And so they would just like to know if we can't have a new master plan right at this moment, what's the process for getting those things added?
In contrast, we have done 4 major, very important master plans in the last 5 years I've been here. And I think the master plan for parks, we're currently working on the transportation master plan. So that's another massive one for the entire downtown, the whole city. That's 200 plus 50,000. They are very expensive. We can definitely prioritize this as something that on a capital project and look into what does the timeline look like.
I think it's just doing some like amendments to it is what I think that I recall coming out of that meeting. It was like not like having to do a whole master plan at this time, but just there's a couple amendments.
Jacob and I talked earlier because it's mostly on Jacob's shoulders right now as far as amendments and things that I suspect, and we discussed the capacity issues and the priority of, you know, how important is this? Looking at the the state for funding to fund the TSP update. And we give state funds for each of these things to do that, and that being the next project in the queue to work on as far as updating the master plan. Having a list on the side of projects and things that need to be updated, we can certainly look at that. I was gonna commit to attending more Parks Commission meetings, try to be on top of that.
The other couple things they had was there was something on the website, getting that updated. I'd have to go back and review. I didn't have time, but what was actually discussed for the website, but there was a couple website things that seemed pretty simple to get updated.
So very easy to update.
And then the other thing, which I think is an easy thing to do potentially, is that there was just the expression of like, you know, parks and trails and having to deal with a lot of the things that go on in the city. You know, historically, maybe they haven't been brought to the table to discuss those things also when we're doing major projects. And it seemed pretty unanimous from the commission that they'd like to be involved where they can if we're working on a big project. Is there any element of it that pertains to parks that they could offer, maybe their knowledge, you know, the plants and the foliage and all of that kind of stuff? And that seems like that might be an easy lift to do, just to engage them. We have a great group of individuals that spend copious amounts of time and have a passion for this. So we certainly want them to, you know, feel valued and that we're listening to them. That's all I had for it. Do you have anything that I have missed?
I think the website was basically the process for creating a friends group for the parks. They wanted that language updated on the website and that process clarified, and then yeah, I just added it. It is a great group. I know, again, 4 years ago when I was on the commission, we were talking about wanting to be involved in decisions and included, especially when major projects go on in the parks and we're designing a stage or an amphitheater or Parks Commission, it's taking place in a park. They should be included in those decisions, so.
Can I say one other? Was part of what we were talking about was there's some language still pointing back to Shauna Dugan being.
As part of that friends group, yeah.
Yeah, I recall that now. Yep.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments on that? Okay, so that moves us on to, thank you, Mohammed, the report from city administrator.
All right, tonight on your agenda, thank you, Mayor. Is the renewal of realtor services from Heather Williams, and we have. Thought I said Jeff, there it is. You had requested to have Jeff come and talk about the updates of the projects he has listed for sale, which is the Millard Road and the Bluff property. Jeff, do you want to?
Hi, Jeff.
Oh. I'd like to know first.
Millard Road.
Good news.
Good day.
Millard Road.
Well, thank God we've got one project going. The market's really, really slow right now. Builders are really holding off and crossing their fingers that in the spring, things are gonna snap together, but always a hope type thing. I talked to the engineer today on Millard Road, and he said, that's really gonna start gaining speed because they're at the point now. They've gotta come back, to the city and maybe tweak it a little bit, for so they can juggle around to make it sense out of some of the lots. Because they gotta stay out of the wetlands. There was a lot more wetlands than what they had thought in the beginning. He said came to the city, what was it, last week? Or the week before?
Yeah, there was a pre-app last week.
And to see if they could move that pond area that's in the front there. And so they said they will be, after they do some more going over the plans, that type of thing, they'll come back and kind of get the city's
attitude towards a couple changes, then they'll be really speeding it up. Get the engineering done. So that one's there, and then the one that I have over on 10th Street, that one, I've showed it a lot. That one, of course, everyone knows it's solid rock. The best thing, and I've kind of talked to John about that, if the city winds up getting any topsoil whatsoever, and they could start packing it up there, the cheapest way to resolve the solid rock is to bury it in dirt.
Gosh, we have structural fail.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Can be used at the train station.
I know, I'm just kidding. That's
And the developers that I've taken up there, I agree, that's the best way to develop that. So if we could find the right fill, start hauling it up there. And then have someone, just like they did over behind DMV, compact it, engineer it, then it'd be ready for development. Then it'd be a whole lot easier to get a developer to go after it. Any questions? What I would like to see this next year, if you extend my contract, I would like to see maybe a group or meeting once every couple months where I can actually sit down and discuss which direction the city wants to go with their real estate. And learn a little more where the sewers will allow you to develop and where it won't. Because I get a lot of developers. I got one coming in town next week. But then I have to constantly find people, see if it's a possibility. So it'd be kind of nice to have a committee or something where you sit down and discuss all that and have the knowledge of what direction the city really wants to go toward.
Keep it in touch with the private sector through him.
Is that something you can do with the planning commission?
I think we should all.
Separate, yeah.
Anything else?
Thanks for coming in.
Says my report now.
Update me on Arcadia.
Let's set this up as in a calendar format this time as far as things since last meeting and up till the next. And I've recently sat in on a League of Oregon Cities strategic planning workshop, thinking ahead to the next year and our doing typical things we do as far as community survey and goals, review, mission and vision, strategic planning, updating the projects, adding new things. And I also reached out to Rachel Barry to see if she might have some interest. We're going to talk about that here next week and do some limited work to keep fresh, keep her looking to the future. I attended the Columbia Economic Team. I'm on the board there. So that was a meeting, and also that same day went out to the Columbia River PUD and got invited to a hydropower partners meeting, and that was to talk about the just basically how fortunate we are in Columbia County here to have hydropower from Bonneville and how it has these preferred rates in this push out there to remove these Snake River dams, which represent a huge, like 15% of the power source grid in the Northwest of supply. And, the things I learned from that is that there's a myth about the salmon piece of that, where the narrative is that the dams there's less salmon because of the dams. There's actually there's many times more salmon now with all the salmon habitat enhancement projects that are going on. And about 25% of the rate goes towards Bonneville's rate goes towards salmon habitat. So
Question with CEC, should we have an alternate if you're not able to make the meeting? If so, I volunteer as tribute.
Volunteer yourself.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
we,
sure.
we should have a presence at that meeting, but if in fact, because you have a lot of things on your plate, if in fact you are not able to make it, the city of St. Helens should be there, be present, so we can hear what's going on. So is anybody opposed to that? And if somebody would like to do it, all for that too. I just want to make sure, I feel like it's important we have somebody. from the
It is
city.
definitely important, I think.
So,
Sure. Or you can, you're welcome to come and you don't have to be the alternate. You can also come.
I just want to make sure we have it, like, somebody's gonna be there, like, things come up, right? And sometimes you triple booked or quadruple booked, so want to make sure that that's one especially, we should have somebody there. So myself or another council member, if you're unable to, one of us should be there. My
I
opinion.
can go as an alternate, like if we have, no, happy to do it. I just don't know if I can commit all the time, so.
Well, we're a team here,
Yeah,
so
sure.
if I'm not able to make it, then we have got our send it back up, but at least we have somebody there.
It's not me, it's Russ.
There are other mayors and elected.
Okay, perfect. Okay, go ahead, Joe, sorry.
Okay, just continuing on, grow the growing greater rural Oregon, that continues to be successful, their business engagement, all the things it's one of the programs under set. I attend those meetings, participate in those meetings. It's a good program, good use of our time. On the 20th November, staff did a presentation before the Board of Realtors. They had a continuous learning education, and they needed to do an infrastructure track. So Sharon, Alex Bird, and myself gave a presentation about the riverfront projects and the streets and utility projects, and talked about all the nuances and everything that goes into the infrastructure planning and construction, and very well received. It's pretty packed house. Surprised how many realtors we have here that showed up. So mentioned earlier that Sand Island Marine Park, the camping, the campground there, had met with the operator, Brett Hendricks. When we sat down in this room here, we went through all the questions and concerns that were received. General themes around the access to the island, safety and security, sanitation, and the capacity of the island, responsibilities of the host, and just picked through everyone. We made notes on all of those. And I think that he, as the operator of the island, shares the same concerns for safety and the lack of the ability to get police over to the island. So that's high on his list as well. And those conversations subsequent around working with Chief Smith and Sheriff Bixley and getting some of our officers certified to be on the island and taking advantage of the IGA that we have for the county. Those resources exist to get to the island. We just need to have the properly trained people to do it. And so I think it would good for the citizens, good for the operator, that we could have.
Yeah, I was really pleased about that.
Yeah.
That will, it's a public park and we should be able to respond with police services. So to get everybody caught up to speed on that, I had met with Sheriff Pixley, and I expressed, just a concern in general about like Sand Island and having public safety, be able to respond over there. And one of the suggestions was an IGA. They have a new boat, but we have to have trained people that operate over water. It's hard to get people apparently into some type of marine training. I don't know what all that is.
It's a long time conversation, girl. We've been
But-
talking about it for years.
He's willing to, I don't know the details of that actual training. I know they have to have it for multiple reasons to work over water. But he could potentially sponsor St. Helens to get us into that program, and then we'd be able to operate the boat. And that would solve the issue for public safety on Sand Island. We'd have trained officers. So that's positive.
Do we have plans to discuss the contract again as a council, like on an agenda?
Yeah, my plan was to take those notes and get into a written form, and we can share them at the next meeting.
Perfect. Okay, I just want to make sure that we have proper discussion over some of the concerns with the contract.
So that was my number 2 item on my list to ask you. So are you saying that it's going to be at the next council meeting?
I will
When are we?
commit to the next council meeting, yes.
Okay, so we're gonna go through that at the next council. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for following up on that. Okay.
I would just add to that, though, I know that I was gonna work with John on that also, and so I know that there might be some timing issues to have a full discussion before the next council meeting.
I do think it's important that legal has looked over everything and that you have checked in on it. So if you feel like you need more time, I think it's reasonable to wait a little bit longer because I want to make sure you do have eyes on it.
Okay, I would recommend and then we move it to January and then John and I have time to talk about it.
Is it reasonable the first meeting in January, or can we put it with the second meeting in January? You have the second?
Either works for me. I think the second is more likely to have a better review.
Can we put this on the calendar for the second council meeting? Time to review it, because there was a lot of contractual. The Sand Island contract.
Strive to have it to Ashley by this next meeting.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, John. Sorry to keep interrupting you.
At that same day I met with Brad, I also met with Michael Curry, which is our strategic networks group, is our broadband consultant that we've been using. We learned that the information that we prepared, we were waiting for this BEAD funding, this national funding award, and the county made an application. They did receive $9.5 million, which is great. So the use of our resources to attract, over $9 million to expand broadband in our region is a really good investment. There is also a private operator, RSG, that remains interested in working with this. And that'd be about a $38 million private investment to go with these fundings. So it's that been a 4 to 5 year effort, but it's reaping into fruit now. So I mentioned that we had a our road property pre-application meeting, which was great to see some movement, and there's some little tweaks that try to get the project to work best for everybody. We'll be seeing that at some point. Meeting Project Arcadia to get this deal transaction closed. I know it sounds like a broken record, but I feel like we're really on the down coming. We've been really close here. So.
And we are super, super excited about it.
Yes,
Next year's the 100th year anniversary, and it's gonna be amazing. We're happy to have them up and running.
Had a weekend check every 2 weeks. I have a weekend check-in, bi-weekly check-in with Treadway. Talk about all the things going on in the Halloween events throughout the year, next year, looking at ships coming up and things of that nature. On Saturday, I attended the Wonderland Bazaar market over at the John Gunn Building. That was absolutely amazing how many people were there and how well attended it was, and to watch all the people that when you go into the courthouse there, or the John Gunn Building School, there's a reader boards on the side that have like pictures rotating of classes of people, different ages over the last several decades of people that have attended school, their parents attended school. But I mean, that was just a focal point for people to just gravitate around there and see all their parents and grandparents. It's pretty neat.
Can we bounce back to Treadway? I thought I recalled that on today's agenda, we're supposed to give a presentation. So I'm just kind of curious, when can we?
They are next meeting.
Okay, at the next
They're
meeting?
planned for the next meeting. Yeah.
Okay, so December is the next one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We haven't had our meeting this month.
17th.
Man, you just made me panic. Okay, next one, next meeting.
So I'd like to have a check-in at the next meeting with Walt Foster on the project status of the Walt Foster work on the central waterfront, and see if we can get some direction on that. The circumstances have changed since the inception of this project, and staff is looking for direction. The consultant's looking for direction to make the best use of the remaining grant funds, and question being, do we stay on the current path of the Philbin Lagoon, or do we pivot to do something else, perhaps, a smaller project that serves our local needs? And, again, just trying to take advantage of those resources that are being allocated to us and use them wisely, meet our community needs. So you're at that, we'll have a discussion at the next council meeting. Tomorrow we meet with the Romano Capital, their 60-day check-in, which is great. This not very frequent at first, but now that the studies and reports are starting to come in, we're gonna go to a more like every other week kind of.
Was Hubbard invited to that?
I'm sorry, is invited to that, and he did
Yeah.
attend
Okay.
the first meeting.
So make sure.
Anderson
Perfect.
is also. Friday, we have bargaining with ASME, trying to make some traction there. Saturday's Toy and Joy, Fairgrounds. I've been attend the Parks and Trails Commission on Monday to make sure we're on top of that. You could do what we can to meet their needs. Next week, we're also having a planning commission meeting where the conditional use permit for the police station is on the agenda. So that's exciting and making traction.
I did see that property has been vacated now.
Property is vacated. We are,
Yeah, it looks good, huh?
Stopped in some way.
yeah, I heard, I stopped in
Do
yesterday
we have new signage coming for the?
After the.
after
the
the conditionally,
FTC?
after these, yeah, we're working on the ground lease. We're doing the ground lease purchase sale agreement at escrow at Tyco right now, and that's all going along nicely. We're looking at utility. There's a lot of little pieces and
You
that's
did a good job cleaning up that property, though. There was a lot
I
of stuff.
told him, I said, it's worth more money now. And he goes, did I leave something on the table?
No, no, you didn't. Yeah.
But we don't have keys yet, but we should within a week or so. Also next week is our Colpack meeting, which is a regional economic development district that I'm also on the board. Every Thursday, we have a check-in on the police station status and project design. That's going well. And we had a couple of draft renderings. I don't know if we have those
Wow.
handy to put up and maybe take a look. This is
Yeah, that looks great.
that is a view from where where the signal is. That's
Well, that looks great. That looks really good.
that view there, and then there's one from, if you were looking in your rearview mirror going down
Oh.
Columbia Boulevard, that's, you'd see that, so.
That's gonna look great.
That's good.
That Taj Mahal.
Basalt accents, trying to fit at the old end with the new. Um,
Don't look at me like that. The joke.
the safety, crash barriers, all those things, but if you go back to the other one for a minute there, there's a
The vegetation, it looks clean, it looks simple.
glass room right there is a panic room. So if you're in crisis, you could pull in, run in that room and push the button. It locks down the facility and calls the police. The relief you see right there on the corner is intentional to create a small plaza right there. The signal, there's some light arms and other utilities in the way that conflict with that. And rather than moving those, we just designed the building around that. So
So Chief Smith, just really quick, there was a comment made today about like the police station being locked and whatever the case is, like, is there any opportunity to make a comment about that at all? Like, is the police station is actually locked? And so how does that work? I haven't gone there, like.
You know, one of the reasons why we currently have the front door locked is because Patty is essentially doing the jobs of 3 different people right now. And so many times she is in the property evidence area of our building processing evidence and thus is not monitoring the front door. So by someone hitting the blue call box, it notifies them that there is a citizen wanting assistance and officers and or Patty can then go help them.
Got it. So in a perfect world, if we had adequate amount of staffing, somebody would be up there full time and then you would not have to lock the front door essentially.
That's correct. And part of that is we just simply don't want a citizen walking in and waiting in the waiting vestibule area and not have anyone know that they're there. They could be waiting out there for half an hour, hours at a time, and we wouldn't know. And so with the new public safety facility, that negates that.
Because there will be a section where they can walk into that is, you know, somewhat separated from.
Okay.
That's correct. It'll be a traditional waiting area, much like the Beaverton Police Department has, very similar to that.
Thank you.
So on December 11th, we have the utility rate forum here in this room. Steve Donovan will come and talk about utility rates. It's a fairly similar format to how the reservoir was.
The entire team will be here as well, just.
Yeah. On the 15th, we have a meeting with, we heard about our alleged DEQ violations that we feel pretty strongly about, that we're gonna meet with DEQ to discuss those violations.
One request there, if that really came out on October first and then we're just finding about it now, it would be help. I think, I can't speak for the rest of council. I would like to know that that's going on because I start getting phone calls and I literally don't have any clue what somebody's talking about on that thing. So if you possibly could just let council know that something's going on, then we can at least, where we can speak about it, we can engage in those conversations. So
Yeah,
that,
I agree, because I did not know.
I hear you. So,
thank you.
had a meeting earlier in the week with the inclement weather group, which is a group that has community action team and TCMH and county emergency management folks, and talking about, serving people and, some of our most vulnerable citizens. And community action team was talking about their funding allocations through HUD and CCMH shared the kind of same information about how those cutbacks are really going to impact our citizens. And they wanted to come to the next meeting and give you a quick brief on what's going on there. So that's right. We'll get that scheduled. Lori and I and the finance team have been working on budget forecasting. You got your quarterly report. Staff seems to be holding our year-to-date percentages pretty well across the board, but there's other external factors that impact our budget as far as state shared revenues and our growth projections that came in a little bit. We're budgeting 1%, which is, we used to budget much more than that, but it came in about 0.5%, just a bit over. And we entered into, if you recall, our budget process, staff expressed concern over the reliance of one-time revenues. We've been using these portions of timber sale to help plug these holes in the budget, and we're trying to move away from that. And we had recommended having something more sustainable with recurring revenue, such as the general service fee. And that now, if we were to do something like that and ask the voters, it would be a vote of the people to be able to do something like that. But the budget committee recommended no COLAs. They wanted a greater share of the tourism revenues. And it's going to be challenging.
Are we working on any type of 5-10 year strategic plan? Like instead of just year to year, are we trying to actually develop a strategic plan or forecasting?
We forecast 5 years out, and it always looks bad. It's always has since my everywhere I've been, every career, everybody else haven't said you can.
Cities just aren't revenue generating businesses,
There's just
they just aren't.
more services than there is funds, more demands for services than there is money available.
Statewide, bro.
It's more than a statewide problem. It's a
Nationwide.
National problem.
I just want to touch on capacity. We've lost so many employees. In the community development side, Jacobs, we've been operating without an assistant planner. We've lost Rachel and Jenny and so many others that really strip our capacity to kind of get out there and do forward-looking things. And it's really important that we continue to do the day-to-day, but we still need to keep looking forward.
Hiring an assistant?
Holding that, just see. But what Jacob's doing right now is unsustainable, so we're gonna need to do something. The Oregon Recreation and Parks Association, the one that gave us the Design and Construction Award for the Riverwalk, wants to have their board meeting here in March. I figured that we would happily host them, seeing as how we're a award recipient. And if it's all right with you, we'll do that in this room. So I mentioned that everybody will be here on the 17th, and still doing the food drive for the food bank here. We have one more round of that coming up. The barrels and what was tonnage of food? It was like 1,200 pounds or something there. Fantastic. And Christmas ships is this Saturday and Plaza's looking amazing out there. Strado did a fantastic job decorating. There'll be music and Santa and Santa's gonna be in this room here. Lighting, all that. So we'll be here.
Thanks.
That's it.
I have a few things. Nuisance fees. I still have that on my queue. Can we possibly look at the end of Q2 of 2026? to wrap that up? If everybody's busy.
What month is that?
That'll be, well, we can do. Sure.
That seems like it'll give.
You get like June if you wanted to go like that, May or June of next year. I know, cause there's like, this really has to be like, I mean, we have things to work off of, but it is on the list, so I'm just trying to keep these things, on my queue and moving forward, but not. There's other things that are more priority.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds good. There's a few items like that and that fits in and that gives a lot of time.
That, can you make a note of that, John? Okay, and then also, couple questions, like I have not been a part of this personally, where somebody has brought in an appeal to council, and I'm curious, one, how we handle that. Two, I'm also curious on the question about the continuity with the cycles. As silly as that is, are we as a city not following that, but making other people do it as well that are trying to develop things? So one, I'd like to know how we handle this, since we just got handed this.
Could we let Mohammed jump in real quick? and-
Yeah. So Mayor, please consider this appeal done. The problem is resolved. There has been miscommunication in the back end. I spoke with Mr. Al this afternoon after he came in
Okay,
to save you, and I did respond to the email. You should all be part of it, so you can see my response as well, but it's resolved.
okay, this one's resolved. Are you able to speak to the bicycle roof? The continuity between that?
Yeah, I think honestly, with all the love and respect to Mr. Al, this is not the proper approach to this. There is a different process potentially that could have been handled. That's why I took him aside and explained to him.
It did get brought up publicly, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But Jacob is just amazing because he always like.
He
when
showed up.
he comes up, he like pops out of the back room. Are you able to speak to that, the continuity with the bicycle racks?
Absolutely. I think, so you have the development code, which applies to development of private property. And then you have things in the right of way. The development code has bike parking requirements, typically a percentage of the total vehicular parking. And the code talks about bicycle parking being covered when possible. And when it's a private property application, such as an apartment complex, you're anticipating a more longer term use of that bicycle infrastructure. Now, if it's in the right of way, typically bicycle infrastructure in the right of way is not covered in a more short term application. And so I understand the sentiment, but it really is an apple and oranges comparison.
These two issues were different. Very good.
Yeah, no, I got it. Yeah, but they just got brought up. So if we're here, let's just, if we can.
My problem is resolved.
Yeah.
His problem is his problem. You are.
Well, his problem was in your project,
Yeah, I
though.
just-
so-
Somehow.
Saying.
I just want to know how you like know we're talking about something and be able to pop down. It's pretty remarkable.
Oh, he's listening upstairs to us.
So anyway, we appreciate you coming down and explaining that. That's helpful to understand.
So your question to the general process, when the council gets a complaint we do have an administrative process for appeals of decision.
Yes, we do. Okay, I have just not.
Doesn't usually come up in public comment, that's why.
Okay, I just never been a part of it, so, I want to make sure that it's being addressed.
Yeah.
Okay. Got anything else, John?
I think so.
Okay, so at this time, we are going to adjourn. So following the conclusion of this council work session, an executive session is scheduled to take place to discuss labor negotiations under ORS 1926602D, real property transactions under ORS 1926602E. Exempt records, confidential attorney-client privilege memo under ORS 1926602F, and consult with counsel potential litigation under ORS 1926602H. Representative of the news media, staff, and other persons as approved shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All of the members of the audience are asked to leave the council chambers. So at this time, we're adjourned.